Welcome to the Tri-City Herald Editorial Board with 8th District State Rep candidates, April Connors and Joe Cotta. This is for position 2, which is currently held by Matt Banke, who is now running for Senate. So I'm going to start off with Joe. I'm just making a random decision here, and I'll give you your 2 minutes to start. You just start talking, and I'll hit the timer. So.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for having me. My family immigrated from Portugal. Joe Cotta Sr. Came from Portugal, and we started planting grapevines in the 1970s. And that's how I grew up. I grew up on my dad's family farm. And I went to college. I went to Fresno State, and I got my plant science degree. I got my master's degree in horticulture at UC Davis. I got married. I've been married for 21 years. I have 5 kids. They're 18, 16, 13, and 12. And we moved to the Tri-Cities in 2009, where I manage 1,000 acres of farmland, vineyard primarily. I do advocacy in Olympia, at least once a year, at least until COVID kind of shut that down. But on behalf of agriculture and wine growers, union negotiation, I take a lead role in our negotiations with the United Farm Workers Union. So just reaching out to the other aisle. I'm used to doing those kinds of things, and we have separate interests. When I moved here, I was called to ministry. And so I've been doing all kinds of ministry, teaching the Bible more than once a week for the better part of 12 years. Jail ministry, homeless ministry, substance abuse recovery, youth, adult, adoption, all kinds of ministries. I'm a pastor of a new church in Prosser. And I'm running to empower law enforcement and to restore and protect our individual liberties, medical freedom, religious freedom, gun rights, election integrity, the ability to influence our kids' education, things like school choice. It's really important to me. And of course, the rights of the unborn. And resistance to tyranny is obedience to God. The basis for this is loving our neighbor. I'm tired of watching my neighbor get trampled on. And loving our neighbor means protecting and defending our neighbor's freedom and their personal liberties. Thank you.
Great. Okay. All right, April, your turn. Whenever you're ready, I'll just hit the timer.
Okay, I'm April Connors, and I am a mom to 4 children. And my husband is also in the agriculture industry. They farm just north of Pasco in the Columbia Basin and have been for 3 generations. I've been a community leader here for a long time. I've been very active in our local schools. I've been very active in our little arts community, and I love promoting local small businesses. I'm also on the Cadillac Foundation board, where we do a lot of good work. As a businesswoman, I have been a real estate agent in the Tri-Cities for over 22 years, helping people realize their American dream of home ownership. I grew up in the Tri-Cities, and I'm super proud to call it my home. I'm running for office because I believe in citizen government. I believe in giving back to our community. I believe in leaving our community a better place than what we found it. My good friend who is running for state senate, Matt Banke, encouraged me to run, so that's been very important to me. I have some great endorsements, like former Congressman Doc Hastings, the House Republican Organizational Committee out of Olympia, which is House leadership, has endorsed the campaign, as well as 8 of our sitting state legislators in Olympia. Through my years in real estate, as you guys might surmise, getting along with people is a super good idea. So I have learned how to negotiate, problem solve, act and critically think. And I've been out in the community now for about the last 9 months. I announced early in December. So I have been out meeting with community leaders, economic development directors, police ride-alongs, fire ride-alongs, just to really understand what's important in our community. And so I look forward to going to Olympia. I look forward to been having a great time in the race, and welcome any questions you have today.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. So, April, I'm just going to start with the proverbial elephant in the room. You are married to Mike Connors. He's a kind of a school board member. How has that affected your race or your campaign? What kind of questions are you getting from people in the community about that? Because I know it must be coming up.
Oh, sure.
a lot.
It doesn't come up a lot, but it certainly came up in some interviews that I've had. People, when Mike ran for school board, the reason he ran for school board was our daughter is a vocal performance major right now at the University of Washington, but was at Kennewick School District. And so she ran for school board with some encouragement from myself because he wanted to do public service, really because Kennewick School District decided to cut most of their for the music program. And my daughter, along with a few other people, were the driving force behind doing a petition with 5,000 signatures, flooding school board meetings to make sure that the arts weren't cut from our community. And so that is one of the main reasons he ran, as well as a few of other issues that we had within our local school district over the years. Probably the biggest question I have about his current position on the board is he is the board president. So he is put into that big position of leadership, which means he has to make decisions that follow the law, as well as what is in the best interest of the school district. So the question that I get asked a lot is why we didn't do like Richland did and pull masks off the kids during the COVID response. And he has a great answer for that, and anyone's welcome to ask him, but I can explain it as well. And he thought about it. I mean, we all wanted the mask to come off of our kids during COVID, but what he had to do is he had to go into the superintendent and he had to find out what the ramifications for our school district was. And it wasn't just losing funding, it was losing insurance, it was putting teachers and administrators' licenses at jeopardies. So he's had to make some hard decisions to follow the law. And so those have been questions that have come up in the campaign, certainly questions I get a lot, and I'm welcome to answer any other ones about it. But as we all know, when we're out campaigning, not, every spouse doesn't agree with the other spouse in every single decision they make. And so I think that's important to reflect when we're looking at people running for public office.
Great, thanks. And so, Joe, reading your website, your campaign website, it seems like you were very much against the mask mandate, and that's probably I'm guessing a reason that you decided to run. So can you elaborate on that? Maybe you have a little different take than April has on that.
Sure. I went to the Richland school board meetings, and I stood up for conservative school board members, and I presented medical research to, explain to people that, masks on our kids was not good. It was not good for helping them. I appreciated the school board members when they did vote to make masks optional. And I understand that would have created some maybe chaos in the school system at that point. And I think everybody was fine with that because we just didn't like what was going on. And so it's okay when there's some of that happens when you take an aggressive move to protect our kids. And so I don't think those were good. I think our kids suffered a lot through the pandemic. My son got a mask exemption, and that was hard for him because he dealt with people that mistreated him, and he led mass protests anyway, and did some pretty cool things that I'm proud of him for. The medical freedom in general is a big one.
So both of you have notable Republican endorsements, right? And so, April, you mentioned Doc Hastings and the legislators. Joe, you've got the Benton and Franklin County Republican Party. Where's the divide? I'm asking both of you. Where do you think the divide is? So, April, what do you think? Where do you think that line is between the two of you?
Well, I think that with Benton and Franklin County Republican Party, I actually have quite a few of their PCOs on my campaign team that are helping out, as does my opponent. But I think that the conservative values of our community, they go from middle to stronger, and I think that the voters spoke in the primary, and I won the Republican side of the election and took first place in the general. So I think that there was just in that particular room, there were more people that were supporting Joe's conservative values and my conservative values. But I do feel like the community as a whole is very supportive of where I stand within the Republican Party.
What about you, Joe? What do you think separates the two of you and April?
It seems, I would say with HROC, the House Republican Organizational Committee, That's more of a state-led Republican group, and then the Franklin and Benton County Republican county endorsements are more local. And so maybe you're seeing something there. It's hard to draw a line. We are both conservatives, and so I think there's some common ground, obviously, that we see in a lot of different places. The thing that I liked about the Franklin and Benton County Republican Party endorsements is they listen to both of us give multiple presentations and take questions and answers. With A-Truck, I didn't get that opportunity. So that was something that would have been good to have. Yeah, April did get in 5 months before me, but she was able to spend a lot more on her campaign. 124 grand compared to my 11, and I was only 1% behind her. And so I thought that was really good progress and a message that resonated from that standpoint. Conservative ladies of Washington, I think you're seeing a pull with regard to probably more social conservative issues. Pro-life, marriage being between a man and a woman. I'm pretty vocal about those things, and obviously a lot of biblical principle things that I believe, and that's probably what has separated us more than anything.
Could I ask Cecilia's question in a different form? Why should a Democrat, he has his choice between two rather conservative Republicans, why should a Democrat vote for you?
Public safety.
Over your opponent.
Public safety is huge. I've been I live in Franklin County, and my sheriff, Jim Raymond, has endorsed me, and I have the wives of 3 sheriff deputies on my campaign. They support me too. But law enforcement is huge. Overdose death went up 35% last year. That was the 5th largest increase in the country. Republicans and Democrats both care about life and death situations like that. That's not helping people. And car theft has doubled per month since the enactment of the restrictions on use of force and police pursuit. I understand police pursuit is dangerous, but we can't make laws that encourage crime. And homicide has doubled since 2019. And so I think when we're talking about safer communities, I think that's really important. And I think people understand that individual liberty is important. Supporting small businesses and farms is important. And so I understand some of those are maybe thought to be more conservative platforms, but those are things that help everyone.
April?
So I think the most important word in the position is representative. And I think when we're going to Olympia, the job is to be a representative of everyone and to listen to our community as a whole, whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, to try to do things that are inclusive of our community. Joe talked a lot about public safety. I think that is something that everyone can unite on. I have been on 4 separate police ride-alongs myself. I've seen what's going on in our community, and public safety doesn't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. Good roads don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. I care about our community. I've also had law enforcement endorsements. The Washington Police has endorsed my campaign. The local Fraternal Order Police, which is the rank and file, boots on the ground guys, all 570. I have their endorsement as well in the Tri-Cities. And so, public safety can be united together, as well as our roads, our community, getting good money to come to the Tri-Cities. I think, we missed out a lot in the transportation budget last year that went to Seattle area. I think uniting for a better Tri-Cities, and my goal is to bring things here, to bring money here. My number 2 position that I would like to have within the state house is to be on appropriations. That's the quickest. They only take 1 freshman a year. I'm already trying to lobby for it because I really want it, because I really want good things for the Tri-Cities, and so appropriations is number 1 for me to bring money back here. I think your social issues are very, very important, but also looking at how are we going to better our entire community is also important as well.
Matt, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. I wanted to ask both of them. Well, let's start with Joe. You have a line in in the legislative, the book, that you one of the things that you mentioned as being very important is to have confidence in our election. Do you have any reason to lack confidence in our elections?
Well, yeah, when one group is looking for transparency and the other side is trying to confuse the issue and not allow the transparency, I think, you know, there's it's reasonable to suspect things are going on. And so, yeah, I do think that there was election fraud going on in the 2020 election, and I think more of that is going to come forward. But I mean, yeah, I think. Well, actually, I'll say this: regardless of if you believe the election was stolen or not, I'm not sure it matters with regard to making reform that can just make the process more transparent. We need to clean up voter rolls like that. I wouldn't think that would be a controversial issue. I don't like the mail-in balloting system. I don't like electronic balloting. Why can't we make election day a holiday and make our precincts smaller so they could be more manageable and just go back to paper ballots? And then you have a transparent system that people can follow along, and it's like okay, we're good. Whoever wins wins. But now there's all this confusion. I think people are tired of the debate. If we had a more transparent process, I don't think we'd have that debate anymore. It'd just clarify the issue. We'd have more confidence in our system.
Joe, could I ask you a question?
Okay. Well, let's let April answer that first. Before we move on. Go ahead, April. You can weigh in on what you think.
Sure. So when we talk about, I think everybody would like to have transparent elections. I think it's important that we all feel safe and secure in our voting. One of the things that I did personally as I went down and toured the Benton County Auditor, how our election process office to see works. I was able to watch ballots run. I was able to watch and talk to our auditor about like what we see some of the problems, where can we see improvement? Because I think just saying we have a problem with our election system and not trying to find out how do we locally improve that is important. I mean, we're not going to a federal level, we're going to Washington State. So what do we do to improve our election rolls in Washington State? And I do think and agree that the voter rolls need to be cleaned up. I do believe there needs to be a better system for that. Being a real estate agent, I understand how property is transferred when you move. I believe something like that needs to take place within our voter system. And as well as one of the issues that I learned is if you are a voter in Washington State, they use a lot of the death certificates to actually take you off the rolls. But if you die in California or Oregon or somewhere else, they don't necessarily get a copy of that death certificate. So they do watch the obituaries in the paper. It's important to them. So I think some form of trying to clean our voter rolls is really important. Probably, you know, when I talked to the auditor, having more election security at the ballot drop boxes where I know people are concerned, whether that be cameras or monitoring, could also be another option. But I think instead of I think we need to come with solutions to make sure we all, as a community, not just people who are worried about the election integrity, but everybody feels secure and safe about their vote.
I'm going to let Jack ask his question now. Just a second.
I was
Go ahead, Jack.
going to ask both of you, being a little bit more specific. Do you believe that Trump won the last presidential election, Joe?
I don't think we can know unless there's an audit, and nobody will audit. And so I suspect that maybe he did.
That maybe he what?
That maybe he did win. You can't know unless there's an audit.
No, I do not think so.
You don't think what?
I do not think that Trump won the 2020 election.
Okay, go ahead, Ken.
So I'm sitting here listening to Joe in particular, and he has all these problems with our voting in Washington State. I can't speak for anywhere else. I can speak for Washington State. We have had a Republican in charge of the statewide voting for probably the last 20 years and all but the last 2. When we replaced a Republican with a Democrat because the Republican was hired to a national position. In our county offices, by far the majority of them are held by Republican officials. So how do you account for the fact that with the Republicans clearly in a position to control every little bit of our elections that somehow we have a problem in Washington state. Now, yes, voter rolls need to be cleaned up. That's not a question. Every state auditor I've known in my 46 years in the Tri-Cities has insisted that we need to do a better job, and it keeps getting better and better from what I can determine. So help me understand how the Republicans who've been in charge so much of this, members of your party, haven't done the job well.
Well, I think you might be making a presumption there that I think this is only a Democrat issue. And that's not what I mean to say at all. I think there are people that want to audit and people that don't want to audit. And when people don't want to audit, that's a problem for me. This is our election system. It doesn't belong to the gatekeepers. We should be able to get an audit when people want one. You know, in Texas, they had a bill prepared to put on the floor to audit the 2020 election, but their law says the bill had to be read. And for it to be read, you had to have 3 guys' approval over that. It was one of, I think it was the House leader, which was I want to say it was a Democrat. It was one of the Democrats, and then the governor or the lieutenant governor could approve it and have it read on the floor. And they all said, no, we're not having it read, even though the legislature wanted it. And so that, again, it's just a big problem for me. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat.
But we're not talking about Texas.
No, I'm just saying it's not a partisan issue. That's why I brought up Texas.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay.
April,
I want to get. Oh,
I-
go ahead.
April, do you think we have a serious problem in, I mean, admittedly, the voter rolls always need to be cleaned up, but do you think we have a serious problem with our Washington state elections system?
I do not in Washington state. We've been at our form of voting for a very, very long time. When you get to the national position, I can understand people being concerned because of the pandemic and how quickly other states had to go to a system like ours. I can definitely understand people having concerns and issues about the presidential election, but within Washington state, I feel like our system is tested and tried for a long time. Can there be, like we said, can there be improvements made to it? 100%. So
Go ahead, Mike. Oh, we can't hear you, Mike.
So much for my earlier theory. A question for both candidates. Matt Dinky has been a strong advocate, the rep that you're seeking to replace, for energy issues in our community, and specifically an advocate to make this region of the state, the Mid-Columbia region, known as a energy innovation type of center, whether it's for keeping what we've got or bringing new energy innovation to the area. Can you both tell me in your own words your thoughts on what energy means to this region and how you would specifically advocate on energy issues?
sure. Energy is one of the most exciting topics I think that we have in our area and in our race. I mean, we live in our community of Hanford, where we have, outside of it, a Columbia Generating Station. We have some of the smartest, brightest minds at PNNL. Our small nuclear modular reactors that we're talking about producing. We've got local people here that can do that with our local 598 and the operating engineers and the steam fitters and pipe fitters that are all working towards that goal, making sure that our dams are supported. I mean, Tri-Cities and Tri-Cities in Eastern Washington, we are providing the energy for our entire state. And so to make that a goal and to make that shine, that this is what we are about and fighting for. I have done a lot of, I was with Benton REA actually just two days ago talking about energy, and what their future needs are going to be in the Tri-Cities. And we had a really good conversation with the REA and their lobbyist a couple of days ago. I'm excited about what we can do Tri-City wise. have also met with two of our economic development directors here in the Tri-Cities. They are excited about making our area a champion for not only energy, but for tourism and our economy and growing our economy. But in order for us to continue to grow, we have to concentrate on providing more housing for our community members, and then making sure we have enough energy to support our grid, especially with the aggressive green energy code that's coming out of the west side right now.
And before we move on to Joe, can I ask, have you met with energy organizations here in the Tri-Cities? Advocates?
I have met with Benton REA, Benton County PUD, Avista, which is a little bit outside of our area. I have, of course, talked to the New House campaign. I've been to the dam rallies. So yes, so I've been actively working on, and also, toured our local 598, where they have the mock-up of the small nuclear modular reactor that they are hopefully going to be building.
Thank you. Joe?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously overlap here. Our modular nuclear reactors, I think that's going to be an excellent, efficient source of power. Our dams are critical, not just for energy, but obviously for agriculture. Last year we had that heat spike in 2021, where I think we had those consecutive days of 118, that kind of a thing. And there were reports written that said if we would not have had our dams, we would have had blackouts, and we would have had places losing power. And when it's that hot, typically people die. That's a big issue. And so keeping our dams is critically important, and it's an environmentally friendly way that I think is approachable to a lot of people. We have our energy come from water. And so, yeah, I support our dams. I support our Hanford and the modular nuclear reactors. In regard to energy efficiency, I don't think we should be getting rid of natural gas. We have cheap, affordable energy that is available to us, and I don't think we need to be in a rush to go electric when that's going to put such an expensive burden on people and families. It just doesn't seem to be a need to rush into something like that.
You mentioned our modular nuclear reactors. Can you elaborate a little more on your thoughts for the future of the region in that regard?
I just understand that nuclear power, for what we put into it, is an efficient, the way I understand it, the most efficient source of energy that we can generate. There's obviously some risk there because it's nuclear. But I think people think of the Hanford of old and the Manhattan Project and the things that kind of got us into the safety situation that we're in, where it requires continual management all the time to prevent a safety situation from being unsafe. And so with the technology that we have now, and I'm not a physicist, but I've talked to physicists at Hanford, and that's what they tell me, is that we can do it safely and it can be a strong source of efficiency.
So aside from energy topics, I would just like to know what your main priority would be going in. Like, what if you could just accomplish one thing? What do you think it would? What's on your mind? So, April, I'll let you go first.
Well, I'm smiling because it's what my business is, and we have a housing crisis. Washington State is 250,000 housing units short right now, and so affordable housing is on my list, not only for purchase but for rental purposes. So that is my. I have my 5 committees already written down that I would like to be put on, but housing is for sure my number one. And I've already started talking points about what important legislation we might have coming. The housing industry, and it's so interesting because some people might not say housing should be your number one priority, but when you think about what housing does and the problem we're having for housing, we have veterans that need housing. We have homeless people that need housing. We have our developmentally disabled folks that need housing. We have people that are in apartments now that can't afford them. We have, if we want to grow our region for economic development, the first thing that people are looking at is where are these people going to live? And right now we have a shortage within the Tri-Cities, we have a shortage within our state. And so in order to keep recruiting economic development to come here, we really need to be focusing on how are we going to get affordable housing? What are we going to do? Whether we're going to do some kind of a tax relief for people who are building the affordable housing, whether we're going to do a kind of a sunset clause for seniors to help with their property taxes. If any of you live in Benton County and you just got your property tax bill, mine went up 13%. But I was just talking to another a friend and business partner of mine that owns, or not business partner, but business associate that I sell houses for, that owns a couple of manufactured parks in the Tri-Cities, and she's done a really, really good job of trying to keep her homes at a $400 a month rental rate. Well, her property taxes just went up 31% on those manufactured parts, and she's going to have to transfer that on to the renters, which again is going to increase affordable housing. So we really need some smart people in office that have a tie to housing that can help educate our other legislators on the issue of housing and get some good legislation in there that helps, especially when you talk about, I could go on and on about housing. So growth management, all these things that needs a little bit of attention within our housing industry. So I'm excited to go to Olympia and work on affordability.
Before Joe answers that same question, what are the other committees that you're hoping to, what's on your list, I guess?
Sure. So, and I always have my list handy. I don't think I have it in front of me right now, but for sure, appropriations. We talked about that. I really want to bring dollars back to the Tri-Cities. I think one of the fastest ways to learn to be a legislator is to sit on appropriations. I believe every bill that has more than $50,000 going through it goes through appropriations. Rural development and ag. Very interested in that piece of it. I would love to do energy, but I think one of the people that's going to Olympia probably wants energy. She's pretty strong on it. Public safety. I've spent so much time in police cars and with our little law enforcement officers. That public safety is in my top 5, and then of course education.
Okay, great. All right, Joe, your turn. What's your priorities?
And the question is energy legislation, like if it was one thing.
Well, we talked about energy in depth, so I was thinking if there was any other priorities you had, any other issues or topics that you are aiming for, anything specific, maybe ag, I don't know, any specific problems that you want to tackle.
Practically, there's a lot of things, right? Practically speaking, if I just talk about the committee's question, agriculture is a big one. And when you're involved in it, when somebody says, well, how are the overtime laws affecting your operation? How are the temperature thresholds affecting your operation? How are the smoke particulate levels affecting your operation? I don't have to ask anybody those questions. I just know because these are things that we're experiencing every day. And so I do feel I have a lot to offer agriculture in that regard. Energy-wise, natural gas is huge, and that we use it to produce fertilizer. And so we need to get we can't put natural gas companies out of business. I don't know if people see a lithium mine or know where our cobalt comes from, but there's a lot of slave labor and child labor involved in that in the Congo, and all that goes to China, and we buy these batteries from China, and that's not helping us out. That's not achieving the energy efficiency that we need. But natural gas, we need to keep that. I think that's a huge one. I think medical freedom is a big one. I don't like that state employees are still required to take a vaccine. People if we don't have medical freedom, we don't have freedom. We need to be able to have some say on what goes on inside our bodies.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Joe, April mentioned her desire to get on the Appropriations Committee as well as the Housing Committee. What 2 or 3 committees would you seek membership on? Again, Housing, Human Services, and Veterans, and Appropriations, I believe, are your top 2, April. And if that's not right, we'll come back. I'd like to correct that. But yeah. Joe, what would you seek?
Agriculture would be one. Let's talk about that. I think the second one would be education. When I went to college, I spent my first year studying to be an elementary school teacher, and I care a lot about kids. I went through an experience there where I saw some abuse, and it just kind of turned me off from participating in the education process, and I thought, well, I want to spend more time with kids. I can coach little league teams and stuff like that, which I've done for my kids. But I enjoy kids a lot, and I participate in a lot of children's ministry. But obviously, I'm referring to education. And so, I know that Brad Clifford is somebody that talked to me about running, and he talked to me about being on the education committee. Where he was reluctant to be on. He didn't really feel like that was an area where he could serve that well. And they said, Brad, we need you there. We need more conservative leadership there. And he talked about how rewarding it was. And, I think back to all the times I've had an effect on kids' lives, and it's a pretty amazing feeling. And so being a part of the education committee, I think would be fantastic.
Thank you.
So I'd like to ask a question that sort of relates to this. One of the things that made Matt Benke effective was he could work across the aisle. And it allowed him to get some major things done. It's interesting, Joe, you brought up Brad Clifford. In my experience, Brad was, for the most part, singularly ineffective because he was so outspoken. And let's face it, unless something really surprising happens, whichever of you goes to Olympia, you're going to be facing a Democrat majority, probably a substantial one. So anything you want to get done is going to require you to work across the aisle with the Democrats. And I'd like to hear both of you give me an example of how you've done that, how you've worked to forge, shall I say, a compromise or a coalition somewhere. April, let's start with you.
Okay. So compromise and critically thinking and negotiating is what I do every single day. And so my job is not dependent on political party, and it is dependent on, getting someone into a house, getting kind of their best deal, the best price, best deal that they can get, and then helping them negotiate through issues of inspections and problem solving. I don't think probably before I ran for office that any of my clients would have been able to tell you what political party I belonged to. I didn't think it was an important part of my job. And I have always been bringing people together. That has been, if you'd ask most people about me, they'd ask, what do you do that you do so well? And it is bringing people together. I think that I will effectively be able to go and reach across the aisle and to help people. And as a matter of fact, I told our Carl Dye, I told him that I was going to be his champion. He's looking for someone to go to Olympia, get legislators from the West Side, put them on a bus, get them to the Tri-Cities, show them what we could do, show them that we are not singular minded, that we have scientists here, that we have an amazing ag industry here, that we are a growing economic development community. And I told him I would be his champion to reach across the aisle and make sure those people got on that bus so that we can start being more effective. And I think when you talk about sending us to Olympia, sending someone who has the ability to do that and reach across the aisle and be effective for our community is probably the most important thing in an election.
Joe?
Yeah, that's something I've been doing since 2013, just by making trips to Olympia. When we started doing that as an agricultural advocacy group, we reached out to the friendly guys as we were getting trained, people that kind of supported our agriculture agenda. But then once we kind of got comfortable and we understood the process, we started reaching out to the other side of the aisle. And so what we would do is we talked to them about the issues, and we saw pesticide bills that would be submitted that would have absolutely shut down agriculture. And so we talk to them about those issues, but we also show them, we invite people out to our farms every year. And a lot of it's just about education. They don't know what's behind the ramifications of what they're trying to submit. And so when we have legislators come out here and we just turn on a sprayer and they see how it works, and it's not this huge, fumigating cloud. That it's really a specialized point of a specialized target that it's hitting, and that most of the pesticides that we use are less toxic than salt. It's an eye opener for them, and so education is a big part of that. And it's been successful. Those bills haven't been passed, and it just takes the wind out of the sails of that momentum when we're able to show them this is what happens if we do these things, and this is why that legislation is not needed. And obviously, in negotiating with the United Farm Workers Union, radically different interests when we come to the table. But we're nice to each other. They're just things that you don't need to say that force other people to dig their heels in. That's not very nice. And so, a lot of it is just about relationship building. I talked to Tom Dent and Senator Saldana. They went into a leadership program together where they kind of learned to build on each other through this leadership program, establishing a relationship. And so when they came out of that, it's like, well, I know Tom and I know Senator Saldana, and they come together and they can work on issues when they need to call somebody from the other side. It's like, okay, tell me how this is. What's going on over there? There's a relationship. And those things are critically important. We all share humanity. We all kind of basically want what's good, even though we differ on how to get there a lot of the time. A lot of my best friends are different in political origin or preference, so that's fine.
Could I ask a question, basically a nitty-gritty election one? The three of you almost tied, in essence, in the election, with each of you getting just over 30%, with April coming out ahead. John Christensen got his 30.7%. Has he endorsed either one of you? He has the potential of being a kingmaker. Has he endorsed either one of you? And if so, why?
That is the second time someone has asked that question. So I got asked that question in the Association of Washington Businesses interview. John is a very nice man. I have not officially asked for his endorsement. I did call him as soon as the race was determined, which was days into it. And John was very nice and very kind. And then I ran into him again when I was volunteering at a picnic. And John was very appreciative and kind of the campaign and said he really liked a lot of the things that I had been doing. But I had not officially asked for an endorsement from him.
Joe?
I haven't asked for an endorsement from John either. I think he's fantastic. I love his passion that he has for his community. And I've told him that. And we were talking at one of the parades, the local parades we had, and I just told him I had a lot of respect for him. I'm not seeking a Democratic platform, and so I don't know that it makes a lot of sense for me to ask for that endorsement. But I respect John a lot. I think he's a great person.
Great. On that note, I think our time's about up, so I'm going to give you both time for your closing statements. So, April, I'll let you go first, since I think
Sure.
Joe went first last time. So just let me get it up. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Well, I thank you guys so much for the opportunity to come and speak today. I do think that I'm the best candidate for this position for many reasons, and one of them being the time that I've been spending out in our community, meeting with leaders and trying to determine what's needed in the Tri-Cities. One of the things the reason I started so early and I've been working so hard and doing something pretty much almost daily. This morning I was meeting with our local credit unions, talking about ideas to help with rentals and how we can get people into houses with zero down or into rental units with zero down because of the amount of deposit and things you have to put into it. So I have been doing this for a long time. My goal in doing this early was so when I go to Olympia, I don't just get there and not know what I'm doing. I want to be effective. I want to be effective as a freshman in the Tri-Cities. Being effective in my whole life is important to me. Being effective in my work, my family, and what I'm going to do for our community. My opponent mentioned earlier that I think that I have raised a lot of money. The solid, sound support of what our community thinks about my race, of the money I have raised. And I think I'm probably one of the top race earners or raisers in the Tri-Cities in a long time. Of the money, I think $87,000 of that have come from 300 individuals and local businesses here in the Tri-Cities. We've raised more than that. Of course, we have some PAC money that's come in. But if you look at that money, most of that money is all coming from industries that support support me. Agriculture, cattle, tree fruit, wheat, potatoes, dairy. And then if you look at the building trades and the building industry that's supporting me, housing, Associated General Contractors, Washington State Building Trades, most of all of my money that's coming in are things that they know I'm going to be effective at in Olympia. One of the other things I didn't get to mention, which I'm excited to do, is I have been talking with some of our other representatives in the area. We are interested in forming an Eastern Washington or Tri-City Caucus. We have 4 districts that touch our area, the 8th, the 9th, the 15th, and the 16th. And I think that if we can form this caucus and we can go together as more of a solid front, we're going to be able to get a lot of things done for our area. I think it's important that we send someone to Olympia that is effective and that represents our community. And so thank you for letting me speak today. If anyone wants more information, they can go to aprilforwashington.com or to my Facebook or Instagram page.
Great, thank you. Okay, Joe, your turn.
Yeah, thank you to the Tri-City Herald. Thank you for everybody for viewing and being engaged in our elections. My opponent and I are both running as Republicans. And the Benton County Republican Party, they endorsed me. It was 68% of the PCO vote. And the Franklin County Republican Party endorsed me. Conservative Ladies of Washington has endorsed me. Obviously, I'm not a lady. It's because of my conservative values. Representative Clipper, we talked about, Stand for Health Freedom. They know I'm going to fight for your medical freedom. It's a national organization. Ron DeSantis has received that endorsement as well. From the farming community, the president of the Benton County Farm Bureau has endorsed me. The chair of the Wine Growers Board has endorsed me. A member from the Tree Fruit Growers Association's Board has endorsed me. And I live in Franklin County. Franklin County Sheriff has endorsed me. I talked about, we both have law enforcement on our side. I think people know we're both going to support law enforcement. The Richmond Fire Department has endorsed me. And I'm the only candidate with conservative school board endorsements, with any school board endorsements at all. And again, they know, when things were going down with all the mask stuff, I was there presenting the medical evidence and supporting our conservative school board members. Those are things I actively did to protect our kids. Resistance to tyranny is obedience to God. John Adams said that. Ben Franklin said that, but they were quoting someone else. They were quoting John Knox, and he led the Reformation in Scotland against the tyrannical queen. It's not a call for anarchy. Resistance to tyranny is obedience to God. The basis for that is loving our neighbor. And loving our neighbor means being jealous for your neighbor's liberties, to fight for your neighbor's freedom. That's what I will do for you. If you want more information, go to votejoecotta.com. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you both so much for participating in our interview. Good luck to you both. And it was very insightful. I really enjoyed it. So thank you. All righty.
Thank you very much.
All righty.
Thank you.